Hey everybody, Aaron Blaise here, and we are early. We are 2 hours early on Thursday. We had to go early because once again we got family issues. We always have family issues here. That's a good thing though, because at least we have family. So I've got to take my father to the doctor. So I'm doing that today at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. So we're going to be going until about 12:45 today. And we're going to be doing some more animation. We're going to pick up where we left off on Tuesday. And if you remember on Tuesday, we were doing some snow bear animation. I was kind of just going straight ahead, taking you through how I break it down. If you were here, you remember all the thumbnails and everything. And I'm going to be showing you that again. We're going to review all that. And then I'm going to break some of this stuff down. And we'll just have some fun animating. So I'm working on this shot for Snow Bear, which is our animated short that we've been working on for, it seems like, the last 100 years. We're trying to get it done by early 2020. And this is going to be our little 8-minute short that just the four of us are doing. And we're having a great time with it. And so today what I'm doing is just animating this little personality shot of our character, Glenn. We call him Glenn, and he's making the snow bear. And so, and it's him getting the idea, and so we're having some fun with that. And so, the other thing too I want to talk about is if you are watching today's, remind me to mention this a couple times, Dustin. If you're watching today's live stream, if you go over to my website, creatureartteacher.com, and you decide to buy anything, punch in the promo code SNOWBEAR 2020. That's SNOWBEAR 2020, and you'll get 20% off any order at creatureartteacher.com. So remember that, because that's a pretty good deal. So head over to creatureartteacher.com at any time during the live stream, and if you purchase anything, type in SNOWBEAR 2020, and you'll get 20% off of your order, of any order. So that's pretty cool. And so let's see. So as usual, I've got my son, Dustin, helping man the questions.
Hey everybody.
There he is. And Dustin just moved into a new apartment.
Yes.
And whereas Dustin was about 3 miles away before, now he's about 300 yards away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he moved into the apartment above my daughter. So it's brother and sister living above each other, which is kind of cool.
And I can walk right into town or walk down the stairs, and there she's right there. And whenever we do the live streams now, I can just walk around the corner.
So he walks over here to help me out with live streams. So that's pretty cool. And then in Sarasota, we've got Nick Birch, my business partner, and he's going to be helping with questions as well. And so why don't we just go ahead and dive in. One of the things I've done, first of all, I want to show you the thumbnails. Oh, hey, there's me. I'm going to get rid of all this stuff. This is me. This is my 10-year challenge. There's my 10-year challenge right there. Remember, everyone's doing the 10-year challenge. In 2009, I looked really young. I was super young. And this was a little title thing that I did for... let me get rid of that. There we go. Perfect. All right. So now, if you guys remember, I thumbnailed out the entire shot. Now I'm changing up just a couple of things I'm finding as I'm animating. I'm coming up with a couple of better ideas, which is okay. You thumbnail your shot out, and that's okay. Because your thumbnails are meant to be your guide, and then as you go, if you come up with better ideas, then that's great. And so right now we're kind of in this section where he's kind of forlorn, he doesn't know what to do, and he's just kind of absent-mindedly just knocking some snow out of the way, and it makes a little pile, and he goes, and he just gets in a little idea, and he starts piling up the snow. And then he really starts piling it up, and he gets a big pile in here, and then he starts to shape it. So we're going to get to that later. But right now I want to show you, if you remember, on Tuesday we were doing this first part right here. And but we didn't have anything timed out. I left, we finished the show before we had anything timed. And so what I want to show you here is I've timed everything out. Now, one of the things, especially for a shot like this, you want it to build. And so in the beginning where he's kind of forlorn and he's there's not much movement. And you're going to see there's a lot of time between drawings. Now I'm going to have obviously animation and breakdowns in here, but there's a lot of time. I'm trying very hard to let the scene just kind of breathe and let the character just kind of be lonely. And then he gets an idea. So I want things to take their time. And so you'll see where, you know, we had everything drawn out in about 15 frames on Tuesday. Now I've taken it and I've gotten it out. We're almost over 300 frames long now, but it's all timed. So it's going to be very posy, but let me go ahead and play it. So there's a little time in there. He's just kind of sad and he looks around, looks down. And pulls the snow up and goes, oh, and then reaches over. Now I've got a drawing in there that's missing that I got to do before we go further in the breakdowns. But you can see there's not a lot going on. I'm just taking my time with this animation. But as he starts to pile up the snow and he gets the ideas, then I can start picking up the pace. And I could probably even slow down some of that a little bit more. Let that play one more time. For those on the metric system, that's just 274 meters. How far away you are. Yeah. You're about 300 yards or 274 meters. All right. So anyway, so that's Snow Bear. Now, right at the end, I'm missing a drawing. Here is the last drawing right here. And there's a drawing right there where he's starting to pile it up. Well, I want to get his paw all the way up against that pile and then build the pile up. So I need an extra drawing right there. And let's give that about 8 frames. Actually, no, I'm going to give that one about 16 frames because I want him to pause there. Pause. Pause. And actually, we're going to change this drawing here. Yeah, that's the one that's going to be changed right there. So here, I need to throw an in-between in. Well, it's not really an in-between. Some of it is. It's kind of being broken down. But I want that body to come back up to his neutral position where he's sitting up above that little pile of snow. And I'll go through this pretty quickly. How are we doing, Dustin? We have anybody? Oh, and the other thing too is just remember we've always got this open for questions. So go ahead and ask questions. I know some of you. We might have a small audience today because we really didn't announce that we were going to be doing this early.
Yeah, and you were talking the whole time, so I didn't want to cut in on your action there. But do you use references for your shots?
No, not usually. For something like this, I tend to just really feel it. Feel it. Actually, I got a couple drawings I got to throw in here. So here.
Have you seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse? And if so, what are your thoughts on the style and 2D incorporation?
I think it's one of the best looking. It's one of the most innovative things we've seen in 2D animation in 30 years. And I think it's absolutely stunning.
I know this is a question we get every time, but what program is this?
This is TVPaint 11. I highly, highly recommend it. I am working... do we have this guy set up?
Yes.
I am working in TVPaint on a Cintiq 27 QHD, which, by the way, I just got my 32-inch Cintiq, and we just haven't set it up yet, and it's a monster. So we'll be setting that up and demonstrating that next week. But this is TVPaint, and I'm on my Cintiq 27 QHD. And you don't have to have a big Cintiq like this in order to work in TVPaint, but I like it because it feels like the size of my drawings when I used to work on paper back in the old days.
Way back in the day.
Way back in the day, baby.
Back in my day.
Yeah.
What year is it?
Back in the year 1988 when I started animation.
Would you ever consider including homework assignments or exercises at the end of each lesson in your online courses?
I mean, I guess we could, but I mean, really, the exercise is to go off and do it on your own. You know, the lessons are there for you to create your own. I mean, I guess we could. That's not a bad idea. I'm not sure how we would go about doing that, but I'd figure it out.
Sure, we can figure something out.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Okay. I'm with you, fellas.
Just had a great visit yesterday with my with our friend Tony Stanley. Ronnie Williford came over. Ronnie, if you are familiar with our website, is our color and painting instructor. And Ronnie and I worked together at Disney for a long time. And Tony Stanley was one of our colleagues at Disney. He came over. For any of you that have ever seen Brother Bear, Tony was one of the animators of the Moose characters. He animated Rut, the Rick Moranis character. There we go. Quick YouTube question. Have I ever drawn dinosaurs? Yes, I have. I have drawn dinosaurs. It's not something I do a lot, but I have drawn them. And I like to. I find them fun to draw. So here I'm just trying to get that little pile of snow built up a little bit.
Which tip on your stylus do you prefer, the black or gray?
For this screen, this is a smoother screen. I prefer the gray. On the new Cintiq that I've got, it's got etched glass or an etched film, and I've been using the black on that because I didn't really need the gray. But I really like the feel of the gray stylus. It's got that felt tip, you know, kind of grabs the glass like it's paper kind of feel.
Like paper.
Like paper. Like butter.
Like butter.
Red Fox 555. I love Red Fox. I just watched the video with him the other night. On YouTube asked, did you have any experience in your work with someone with autism? Like, how do you think working in animation would go for these people? You know, it's interesting. There are a lot of people that are, at least on the spectrum, that I find involved with animation, and I think it's a really good. I've got a bit of experience with that, and I think it's a great animation is a great way of expression for people with some of these issues. First of all, animation obviously is a fairly repetitious act, but it also it's not just repetition. You're having to think about what's coming out, and what it's building to, and those on the spectrum tend to do a little bit better with jobs and things that I don't want to say repetitious, but that are repetitious, but that have at least a pattern to them, and And so I think animation's really great. And like I said, I've seen quite a few people have come up to me that are, like I said, at least on the spectrum, that have expressed thanks and are really interested in animation. I think that's really cool. Makes me happy.
Which animal do you think you drew the most times?
Bears.
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 Yeah, for sure.
Freaking bears.
Bears.
There's too many bears in this woods.
So here I'm just having them pile up the snow a little bit bigger.
When you animate, do you think about the poses first or the timing? And is it a good idea to work on the poses and the timing at the same time?
I think of the poses first, and then I think of the timing second. You can do both. It tends to be a little difficult, but you can do it. If it's a simple action, then it's usually not too bad. If it's a really complex action, then I really don't want to think about both. I just want to keep it really simple, and I can picture the action, the drawings that are going to take to make up that action. I can picture the drawings in my head, and I usually will go with that first, and then I sit down and I time it all out. Sort of like what I just showed you guys here. I did all the drawings first, and then I went through earlier today and started timing everything out.
Are you working on a new How to Draw Animals? I love those courses.
Yes, the next How to Draw Animals course will be How to Draw Birds of Prey. Now, I'm going to be doing another course before that on how to do watercolor. But I am doing a Birds of Prey course next. So I want to get one more drawing right here.
Are you able to do this type of animation in Photoshop?
Not. You know what? I haven't seen that you can. I don't know. This for me is. Actually, I'm going to just change this drawing. That's all I need to do. Photoshop doesn't do what TVPaint does. TVPaint is specifically for 2D animation. And it really is, kind of the standard, I think. That and Toon Boom for the industry that we work in. I don't really think you could do this, at least the way that I time it all out and the way that I work it. I don't think you can really do it in Photoshop. Sorry, I'm hitting that point again where I'm having a hard time talking and drawing. Trying to figure out the pose of this arm.
Ready for another question, or you need a moment?
Just give me a moment. Just give me a moment.
Give me a minute.
I want to get this paw. I want to get the anatomy right. I'm trying to get.
Like, hey, I'm drawing here.
I don't want it out here. I want to bring it up.
Oh boy.
What do you mean, oh boy?
Hitting that struggle point.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm just trying to find that right pose.
Hey, let me know when you're ready.
All right, I'm ready, man.
Okay. But back then, how do you guys figure out the timing and the animation back then?
Well, the way we did it back then was we would take our best guess, and we would shoot it, and we'd shoot it on video, on videotape, and we would go through and see where we needed more time, less time, whatever, and then we'd go back in and adjust it, and we'd reshoot it again until we had the timing right. Don't like that. So it was a little bit of trial and error, but the more you did it, the better you got at it. So that's why our timing because and the old guys back then, I mean, they had to shoot everything on film. So they got really good because you didn't want to shoot it on film and then make your adjustments. They got really good at just flipping the paper and getting a sense of the timing there. Twitch question. I'm sure you get this question frequently, but what do you recommend doing when you feel your art skill level start to plateau and don't know how to push it further? What I usually do, and I actually feel that a lot, and what I like to do is I start looking at other artists and what inspires me. I go into nature to find what inspires me there, but I really look at other artists. I want to look at what other people are doing different than me, and what inspires me, and then I let that kind of just percolate in my brain, and then I get in, sometimes something really inspires me, and I get in there and start drawing again, or start painting or whatever it might be. That's the other thing too. Sometimes I'll just change up my medium.
When is the watercolor tutorial coming out?
We don't have a set date yet. Ah, shoot. We don't have a set date yet, but it's going to be hopefully in the next couple of months. We've got a lot of travel coming up, and so that's going to be an issue. So that's the only problem I'm having, is just figuring out our travel along with there we go. There we go. That feels pretty good. With our time schedule for creating new courses. So he's looking around, we're taking our time, flicks the snowball, pulls it in close. Hey, it made a little pile of snow. Here's another little pile of snow. So we just got that one little bit of business. And then what he's going to do is he's going to get up, he's going to walk out of frame and then come in with another big pile. But I think what we might want to do here, just for the sake of our live stream, is maybe break some of this down a little bit. Already it's feeling pretty good. I'm liking the casual feel of it so far. And his energy is really going to pick up as we get going.
Very nice.
Very nice, eh?
Very nice, dearie.
All right, let's jump back to the beginning. So far, we don't have too many drawings. Not too many. That's good. So let's get in here. I wonder if I'm going to have him. I think I'm going to have him inhale. I'm going to add a drawing right in here. Oh, put it on the wrong layer. There we go. There's a drawing right there.
When you draw your keyframe drawings, what tips can you give to figure out what elements are hitting the extreme and what elements are dragging behind? It becomes tedious to keep those in mind.
Say that one more time.
When you draw your keyframe drawings, what tips can you give to figure out what elements are hitting the extreme and what elements are dragging behind? It becomes tedious to keep those in mind.
It's a hard thing to answer. I mean, that really is just, it's organic, so there is no hard answer. It's, what is dominant in the movement and what is just kind of being affected by the movement, not driving the movement. Sometimes you want to think about that. Other times you just want to randomly break up the timing so it doesn't feel robotic. It really depends on the shot. It's not something that I can just give you a hard, fast answer to, unfortunately. But that's the best answer I can give you. So let me come up in here. I've got a Periscope question. Am I a fan of Rankin Bass 2D animated films and their style? Yes, I am. Rankin Bass, Flight of the Dragons, The Hobbit. I think The Hobbit was Batchy, actually, not Rankin Bass. I thought Rankin Bass was more like Rocky and Bullwinkle and Fractured Fairy Tales and all of that. I could be wrong, but that's what I thought Rankin Bass was. So I'm going to have him just kind of inhale.
Are you guys planning on doing a class tour in the U.S.?
Yes, eventually we are. Oh, got a little puppy over here. This is little Maxie. Little Max came in to say hi. Say hi, Max. Look at the camera. How you doing, bud? Yeah, your breath stinks. He's 13. He's a cool little dude. He's a good man, that little dog. So I'm just going to have him just kind of take a breath.
Do you have any courses on color relativity? And if not, are you planning it?
Yeah, we have a whole course on color and all of that. So if you go to creatureartteacher.com, we have a course by my good friend Ronnie Williford, who knows color as good as anybody I know, as well as anybody I know. And I'm going to pull that back just a little bit. I'm not sure if this inhale is going to work. But go to creatureartteacher.com and we have that course on color. And also, by the way, if you're new, if you just came in the last few minutes and didn't see the opening, today, if you go to my website, creatureartteacher.com, and you decide to purchase some lessons or drawing courses or brushes or whatever it might be, if you put in the promo code SNOWBEAR2020, you will get 20% off your purchase. So that's what you get for watching our live stream. By Rankin Bass. Oh, okay, cool. Wikipedia says The Hobbit is 1977 American animated musical television created by Rankin Bass. I thought it was Batchy. So there you go. I am wrong. I love it when I'm wrong. That means I've learned something. But 77, so I remember watching The Hobbit. Oh, Lord of the Rings. Oh, Lord of the Rings is Bakshi. See, that's where I got confused. So there you go.
There you go. What brush do you use for TVPaint?
Right now, I'm just using a number 2 pencil brush right here. Oh, come over here, and there it is. Oh, it's a 2B. Sorry, not number 2. It's a 2B right there. That's where the extra tools are, and I just use that. Very simple. I like it. I like the line quality it has.
For this shot, where's the background horizon line?
It's going to be right about mid-level, but you're not going to see it because I'm going to have some piled up glaciers and things behind him. You won't see the horizon, I should say.
I'm watching your acting for animation tutorial, and I'm doing CG animation. Any advice on an inspiring CG animator?
You know what? I don't know CG animators that well, and I should, but I don't. And there's really inspiring CG animation out there. One of my favorite CG scenes shots was of Woody coming out of the box, and he's doing it's in Toy Story 2, and he's comes out and he's all swishy. He's just like this really swishy sheriff, and it's really funny. It's really funny. It's some of my favorite animation I've ever seen, including 2D. It's just really great. So he's taking a breath. Taking a breath, and then he's gonna look up. So he's gonna take a breath.
Have you watched the animated feature Loving Vincent? If so, what are your thoughts on the animation for that?
I have not seen it, and I wish I had, but I've not seen it yet. There we go. I think it's an incredible feat that they pulled off to do, all those paintings. And I've always wondered, if anyone could do that, there's a great oil paint on glass piece of animation. I can't remember the Russian animator's name that did, but Old Man of the Sea. And it's just beautiful. And but I've never expected anyone to pull off what they pulled off, which is, fully realized paintings, all animated.
It's like full oil painting.
Yeah.
And they're using them like an animator would with sketch, but it's a full on painting.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Like, can you imagine how long it would take to paint just one shot?
They had quite an assembly line going. It was pretty amazing how they did it. I've seen some of the making of. You mentioned Bakshi. What are your thoughts on rotoscoping, and have I ever used that technique? My thoughts on rotoscoping is it's a perfectly fine tool as long as it as long as it matches the rest of what it is that you're doing. I mean, if you look at the stuff in heavy metal and things like that, I wasn't crazy about that. But I mean, I think now I've shot live action reference. I've never drawn right over the top of the live action images that I've shot. I've used the images as my reference, and then I've sat and drawn my own poses from the live action, and that tends to give it a little bit more of a animated, more natural, not traced over kind of feel. And so I've done that. I did that a lot on Aladdin and Pocahontas. But yeah, it's rotoscoping's like anything else. It can be done badly and it can be done well, and I've seen it done both ways.
Now, one of my personal favorite old rotoscope animation style films was Fire and Ice.
Yeah.
Because they did like really heavy rotoscope animation in that.
Oh yeah, big time. Once again, that's Batchy.
Oh, so that one was Batchy?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Katrina on YouTube asks, frame-wise, how long do you typically hold the squash and stretch? Only a couple of frames. Not very much. But once again, it's determined by the style of your animation. And so I'm going to keep his eyes closed. And then he's going to look up. So yeah, it's really determined by the type of animation you're trying to do. I'll pull that ear out.
What's a good program to do animatics?
I think they do a lot of animatics in Maya, right? Or in, oh shoot! In After Effects, I hit play.
What does that animatics mean again?
It's basically it's like a oh him no. So I'm gonna have him actually do this. Um, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I know After Effects, they do it a lot. Maya. Um,
Is it basically the like CG animation? Is that what animatic?
yeah, it's like a very, very rough version
Oh,
of, of what it is that you're
it's kind of like a CG
shooting or
storyboarding
creating.
in a way.
Yeah, sorry, I can't speak right now. I'm trying to figure out my timing.
It's all right. The Alec Bombswig uh, writes the Old Man the Sea paint on glass animation you mentioned was by Alexander Petrov.
Yes, thank you, Alec. Hope you're doing well.
Do you use many smear frames in your animations?
Once again, it depends on the style of animation that I'm doing. If I'm doing very realistic, I will stretch, but I won't smear. It just really is dependent upon what the style. And when I was doing Roger Rabbit animation, I did a lot of smear frames. How long would it take for you to animate a short 5 minute video if you were to work on it full time? A 5 minute video, if it's full animation, and depending on the how much action is going on, it would probably take me several months. Probably several months. And it depends on how complex the character designs are, how loose we can be, all that sort of thing. Twitch question. Hello. Hello. Did I ever work? Did you ever work animations on 12 or 8 frames per second? No, I've always worked in 24 frames per second.
Why did the Florida Animation Studio close down at Disney?
They just decided they wanted to consolidate everything down to California. I think it was one of the biggest mistakes the company has made. But yeah, that's what happened. It was as simple as that, and they laid off close to 400 people in the process. In that one swoop.
Do you find yourself making the facial expressions of the characters you draw and animate?
Yes.
Sometimes people ask me if I'm mad because the character I'm drawing is mad.
Yeah, no, I do the same thing. I think every good animator does that. They're in there and they're trying to draw, and they can feel that animation. And I never use a mirror. I never did any of that, like you see on in the documentaries. And actually, I didn't know too many people that actually really did use a mirror. I think it was more of a gimmick. I take that back. Some people did, but um, I never did. I never used the mirror, and it was always about feeling the expression. And and I really, did that a lot. It just as I'm drawing, I always feel like If you watch Glenn Keane, who was my mentor, I kind of picked it up from him. If you watch Glenn draw, you can see him really kind of feel those expressions as he draws them. I often download animated GIFs from movies like Disney in order to study, but I feel I'm not studying them correctly. Okay? When viewing an animation sequence, what is the best way to study it? I look at timing, I look at posing, I look at silhouette, I look at fluidity. I look at all kinds of things when I'm looking at animation that I admire. Draftsmanship, timing, like I said. Man, there's a whole bunch of things that you can be studying, looking at to get a sense of what it is that you're missing in your work.
Who was the most complex character you've ever animated?
The Beast.
The Beast.
Yeah, the Beast was really complex. He was complex in a lot of different ways. Not just visually complex, but he was emotionally complex. And he was a tough nut to crack as far as getting to understand who he was for us.
How much faster do you think your digital tools are compared to your days of Xeroxing drawings? Like 2 times, 3 times, 4 times faster?
I would say at least twice as fast, maybe 3 times as fast.
Because
So
it completely eliminates the whole needing to Xerox or take snapshots of your drawn out paper and all that.
yeah, and I don't have to shoot anything.
And how do you keep your character consistently the same?
Well, that just takes practice. And let's see what we have for timing here. Let me just. I want to feel like. Let's see if I'm. See, I'm gonna have to. Now that I've added the movement of him turning, I'm gonna have to add some time, I think, into the resting poses. But right now, I'm not gonna worry about it. But you can feel that breath. Actually, it feels like it's animating in a loop here. I don't want it to do that. I want it to do this.
The Beast was originally animated by Glenn Keane, correct?
He was the supervisor of the Beast. So he designed the Beast, and he was the supervising animator. But there was too much of the Beast in the movie for one guy to do, like Glenn. So Glenn had a crew of 6 animators, himself plus 5, I think it was, or may have been himself plus 6. And I was part of that group. And so, and there was two. There was the California studio and the Florida studio. So I was the Florida Beast guy, and I animated Beast. I did sequences like the song "There's Something There That Wasn't There Before" out in the snow with all the birds. The sequence where she's trying to bandage him in front of the fireplace and they get into the argument. The scene where she's leading her to her room from the dungeon and he's talking to you can go anywhere you like except the West Wing and all that stuff. So there's a whole bunch of stuff I did throughout there, and we were all, there was a whole bunch of us that were assigned sections of the film. Glenn oversaw our animation to make sure that it stayed consistent, and then we all, contributed to making that character for the film. Chumpy, hey Chumpy, on YouTube says, I was watching the making of The Lion King, and you were so young, haha. We were all young once. I was young. I was super young. My voice was completely different too. It's really funny.
What computer are you currently using? Is it a PC or a Mac?
I'm on a Mac. I'm using a Mac Pro Tower, cylinder thing. You know the cylinder thing.
A cylinder thing. Well, I've been trying to convert him into the war PC.
Blah.
Did you direct a Goofy short? And
yes, I did.
Can you describe what that experience was like?
Yeah, I did. I did direct the Goofy short. I directed How to Haunt a House.
How to Haunt a House.
That's right. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was actually already. It was already the TV division had already kind of worked out all the layout and everything. It was basically a movie in a box, and so we were in between. We were helping them out, and so I took it and just kind of directed it, directed the animation and the backgrounds, and the production of it is what I directed. I didn't direct any of the pre-production, any of the development, but I directed the production of it. And technically, it's the first thing I ever directed. Because I was getting started on Brother Bear, but they needed some help on this, and so I left Brother Bear for a little bit and directed that, and kind of got my feet wet directing, and it came out pretty good. If you go on YouTube, it comes up on YouTube, and it's called How to Haunt a House. Goofy. It's just a little funny little short. My brother was one of the animators on it, along with several of my good friends, and well, we were all good friends at Disney.
How long did it take you guys to complete that production?
I think it only took a few months.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was only a couple of months. Not even. It wasn't very long. I don't remember taking very long at all. We got it done pretty quickly. There, I'm just adding a little breakdown where he looks down.
How have you improved your sense of acting and acting choices over time?
You know, I think I've become. The question is, how have I improved my my acting and acting choices? I think I've become much more naturalistic. I've I the animation isn't the struggle for me anymore, and so in my early days of my career, the animation and actually some of my drawing, the drawing I would struggle over, and it would affect my acting choices. And but now those aren't the issues anymore, and so um, because I'm not struggling with that, my animation has become much more naturalistic.
And did you film your own reference when you animated Beast?
Um, I only filmed a reference, I think, once when I was animating Beast. And that's when he goes, she goes, "What's in the West Wing?" And he goes, "It's forbidden." And it goes to a long shot of him, his cape flings around, and then he takes his cape and he pulls it back again, and it's from a long shot, and they continue walking down the balcony, and so I couldn't figure out the folds and the drapery very well, so I had Jim Jackson. Remember Jim Jackson? Jim Jackson, a lot of people don't realize Jim Jackson was the 11th man to walk on the moon. And he was an animator at Disney. And he's an animator now at Blue Sky as well. And you got to look him up. He's an amazing animator. But he was the guy that I shot doing the cape.
But not this row. Oh, Jim.
Oh, Jimmy. Good old Jim Jackson.
Are you looking forward to Apple replacing the Trash Can Mac Pro?
I'm not. I don't know if I'm looking forward to it, but I think I'm excited to see what they come out with. Because of course, as soon as we bought the the tower, the cylinder, I mean literally as soon as we bought it and I got it set up in my office, they announced the new one.
They just love when that happens.
No.
That's why I asked this. Okay.
No.
No. No.
I drew his head a little bit big there, so I needed to shrank it up. Shrank it up.
Just shrink it.
So once again, if you guys are new to the stream, I'm working on Snow Bear today, and this is the short that we've been working on over the last 57 years, and or at least it feels like it. And if you're watching today and you decide you want to buy some brushes or some lessons over on my website, creatureartteacher.com, use the promo code SnowBear2020, and you'll get 20% off when you exit, when you purchase, when you settle up, whatever you want to call it. So he looks up. Around. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going through and slowly breaking things down, just breaking down some of the movement. See that pose right there. This one is too short now, so I'm going to extend it another 16 frames. No, I'm going to extend it 8 frames. So I'll make it 24, which means I need to extend everything else 8 frames. Right there. That should have matched everything. So now, he looks up, looks around. There we go. Oops. And we've got Achilles here. Yeah, go ahead, Dustin. Come here, Achilles. I directed Brother Bear. Come on. Look, here's Achilles. Can you see him?
Yep.
Here he is. Achilles heel. See, that's why we call him Achilles. He's a good dog. Okay, so when I directed Brother Bear.
Were you tempted to do any background paintings for production?
No, because those guys, I couldn't paint like them. They were too good. And there's no way I could paint like them. I did do animation, though. There was times towards the end of production when things were slowing down and I had some time, and my co-director, Bob Walker, was off taking care of some stuff. I had time to go off and animate. So a lot of the, when he first opens his eyes and he sees Tanana coming into his view and she's dabbing his head, and then she goes back to the river and she goes, oh, so you've decided to join the living. I animated that. And then the shot where he goes, where he's sitting by the river after she disappears, and he goes, I don't even know where the, whatever he says, all that stuff. And then when he sees the chipmunks talking for the first time, I animated all that. So that was a lot of fun.
Are you sure they're not in there?
Yeah. I'm going to clean this up just a little bit. Clean that drawing up. Oops. Z. I got to do it on the right frame. There we go.
What inspired you to do Snow Bear?
I wanted as a teacher, I don't want to just teach and not be part of, I wanted to show that I'm still contributing to, the film world. And I've been dying to do a film for a long time. And so I wanted to be someone that doesn't just talk about it, but actually, doesn't just preach it, but actually practices it. So I thought, it'd be a good idea for me to do a film. And so Nick and I started talking, and I wanted to do something that was really simple that we could, just a few people could do. So I knew I wanted a low character count in a simple environment. And so I remember, I always get my ideas in the shower. And so I remember standing in the shower, thinking about the movie, thinking about what it was, and the snow bear. A polar bear idea came up, just doing a polar bear. And then I went back and talked to Nick about it, and it really started to grow from there, because Nick really ran with the idea. It was pretty awesome. I love how that stuff works. YouTube question: if you want to get into the storyboarding side of the industry, what should you have in your portfolio? You should have storyboards. You need to have, and I know that's, I'm being a smart ass, but no, you need to have storyboards, and they need to be clear, and they need to be inventive, and they need to be, they need to suck the viewer in, and create, be unique in the way you solve issues and problems, and good acting. There's a change of ideas that, go from a positive to a negative, or a negative to a positive, over the course of a shot, or a scene, I should say. But definitely you need to have storyboards in there, not just action. Get some good acting in there, and if you can do comedy, because comedy is really hard to come by, put some comedy in there, because that really, people respond to that, because good comedy storyboard artists are hard to come by. So that'll help as well. YouTube question: what are your thoughts on seeing the animations you did remastered in high definition, like 1080 to 4K? The Lion King just recently got released in 4K. Well, it almost looks exactly the way that I saw it when I drew it, in that case. So it looks like just the way it did when I drew it. But no, it's the one that got me. I don't know. I didn't like, and I think I know there's a few guys that felt the same way as me. Doggone, I keep doing this. Was the 3D. I didn't understand why they did 3D with Lion King. Did you like the 3D? The Lion King 3D?
It had its moments.
I didn't like it. It was weird to me.
The larger shots, like the opening sequence, was great.
Yeah.
After that, though, it fell apart. because the there's no texture, there's no real shape that could be made. They try to make shapes out of everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes they went too little, and sometimes they went too large.
So you don't really have an opinion on it?
And it's just...
I'm kidding. No, I think Dustin used to do 3D conversion, so I was wondering what his thoughts were on it.
Yeah. It's really, really hard to turn a 2D animated feature into 3D properly.
This is feeling pretty good so far. I'm breaking it down. Looks down. So I'm just going to continue to break it down as we talk. How are we doing on time? We got 11:57. We got about another 45 minutes. So that's good. So I'm just running through. Probably put a breakdown right in there. Dun 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 dun.
Well, it scared me when I said, I'm doing this film because I'm dying to make a film.
Because I'm dying to make a film.
Like, I was thinking, like, you're dying? What?
Well, aren't we all, really? Aaron, you animated the new song for the 3D release of Beauty and the Beast, right? Nick says. Oh, now I don't know if it was the 3D release. I animated. They re-released they re-released the movie. I think it was in the theaters actually. I can't remember, or maybe it was for video. It wasn't 3D, I don't think. But there was a song that had been cut, and they decided to put it back. And I animated the Beast when they decided to put it back. Once again, I was working on Brother Bear, and but I took a little break from Brother Bear and took several weeks to animate that. And I think it came out okay. It was when she's teaching him how to read. I can't remember the name of the song. Shoot. It eludes me. It was the 3D release. Okay. All right.
It was.
Just looked it up. I guess you're right. I guess you're right.
I suppose. Yeah, I never saw the 3D for Being the Beast because I figured after seeing the 3D of Lion King and seeing how bad that was, I kind of figured Beauty and the Beast was going to be the same deal.
I never saw it. I don't think I ever saw it in the theater. So here, when I want to get that paw lifted up. So here, I'm just figuring out, basically just figuring out mechanics now.
When was the last time you got in touch with Glenn Keane, and any possible future projects with him?
That would be a dream if we could do that with Glenn. I saw Glenn briefly at CTN the year before last. And I mean, we literally just got to say hi to each other, and then he was whisked away. This is when he had done the Deer Basketball with Kobe Bryant, and so that was kind of disappointing. But
he was busy.
He was very busy. I definitely wanted to spend more time with him. But anyway, but he's so busy, and he's directing right now, and I don't think that we'll be able to do anything with him anytime soon. You know, maybe somewhere down the road. It would be quite an honor for me to kind of have things come full circle, you know, and do something like that with him.
For this video, will you be adding sound effects, and if so, will you record them or getting them from pre-made sounds?
We'll probably do pre-made sounds. Yes, there's going to be sound effects, and I'll probably hand it off to a Foley artist to do it.
A what artist?
A Foley artist, someone that actually does sound effects.
Oh.
So I'm trying to get a nice smooth action. You see that paw? Let's get a nice smooth action. I saw Bohemian Rhapsody last night. Awesome movie.
Yeah.
Oh man, was it good.
Well, what's your opinion on Dear Basketball winning the Oscar over Garden Party?
I didn't see Garden Party, so I don't have an opinion on it. I really love Dear Basketball. Did you see Garden Party, Dustin?
I don't think I have, but I agree with you on Dear Basketball.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, when I saw that short film for the first time, it teared me up a little bit.
Yeah. Pretty good, huh?
Very good.
Yeah.
You already answered Nick's questions, right?
I did.
Those aren't new ones.
Those are not. Nick just has a tendency to just leave the questions up there.
Yeah. Nick, do the thing. What are the important tasks into the daily routine of an artist?
Important tasks. No, for me, the most important thing you can do as an artist, and it doesn't have to be daily, because I mean, no one does anything daily other than eating and breathing and sleeping. But you got to be creating. If you want to stay sharp as an artist, you have to create. And I do think, it doesn't have to be daily. Matter of fact, I think you need to take breaks in order for your creativity to stay sharp. And for people to say, "Oh, you should be doing this every single day," and I say that a lot too. And I don't mean literally every day, because you really do need breaks. And I'm gonna sound like a politician. I didn't say that. You know any politicians that say that?
Really?
Nick says, "Never mind, I was wrong." Nick just admitted to being wrong.
To what?
On a world stage. It was not the 3D release, but they did include the song in that as well, it appears. Yes. Nick is also typing on 4 streams, so sometimes the questions are going to get left. True, Nick. That's good. That's good.
So there was an HD Blu-ray release of Beauty and the Beast, and that was the remastered.
Yeah, that could have been it.
And then they re-released it later on into 3D. Right?
Yeah. So here, I'm just trying to get all the action just a little bit smoother. You can see he's looks around. Boom. Did Nick just text me? Oh no, no one texted me. YouTube question. Hello, Aaron. Do you have any plans on creating a course on reptiles? Sure.
Snakes.
Yeah, actually.
Always have to be snakes.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? No, I love reptiles. Actually, that's a great idea. And I actually did plan on doing one at some point. It's just been low on my list. But I definitely would like to do one. And yeah, definitely. We're one of the things we're going to be doing is just a locomotion reference course. And it's just going to cover, it's going to take all the different locomotion, bits of locomotion I've done for all my animal drawing courses, but we're also going to throw in a lot of other creatures like reptiles and fish and whales and butterfly, insects, and all kinds of stuff, so that you have this big, giant reference to go back to on locomotion for different animals. And that's something that we're really excited about. So we'll probably do that after we do the birds. and at least the birds of prey. We might expand the birds of prey out to a few other families of birds, but that's where we are right now. The wolf on the wolf. Hey man, on YouTube asked, "Do you carry a sketchbook with you everywhere?" No, I don't. I try to carry a sketchbook on all of my trips. Um, uh, if I'm going out to the park, if I'm going out to the marshes, if I'm going out in my boat, I try to remember to bring my sketchbook. But not everywhere. I don't take it to the bathroom.
No.
No, not usually. It's not a place I want to sketch.
Well, I think you've
Or
done
the
it once or
grocery
twice.
store. What's that?
I think you've done it once or twice.
Yeah. So that's my answer to you, Wolf. So we're getting there. I'm feeling that breath, looking around, pushing that snow away. Okay, so that's the next thing I want to break down. This pushes the snow away. Right up in here. I want to add a breakdown in here.
Do you possibly know if there are any major differences between designing for a video game compared to a animated short movie or show? Like,
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
um, do you possibly know if there are any major differences between designing for a video game compared to an animated like short or movie or show?
I think it all comes. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I think it all comes down to budget. I went to bed at 1:30 last night. I'm a little groggy. I think it really just comes down to budget. I don't know that there's really differences. I think their engines are a little different, but I know there's a lot of features now that are using game engines. So I'm don't know that there's a lot of difference other than whatever the budget might be, and that's not really a difference because that's universal, whether you're doing games or doing film.
And plus, I think when it comes to designing a video game compared to like a animated feature of some sort, animated features like you have the scenes and everything, you have it all laid out
Right.
from beginning to end. But in a video game, it's not just beginning to end, but it's also like the landscape. Where can the character explore?
Yeah, but
vertically.
they're talking about just the design aspect of it, which I don't know it's that different from a character standpoint. You know what I mean?
I think I
Yeah.
get it.
I have a Twitch question. Do I have any lessons about timing the animation correctly? I do go over timing in my animation course, and I go over timing a little bit in my acting for animation course. But timing is a tough thing to just teach. I can talk about principles of timing, which I talk about in my courses. Like texture and timing. You don't want timing to be even. That's the biggest killer of timing. You want places to be slow and fast. You want places to rest. That's why in this section that I'm doing, this is just a small section of a much bigger shot. This section, the timing of it's all very kind of slow and methodical because he's bored and he's sad and he's lonely, and so he's just kind of doing things slowly. But as the shot picks up and he gets more and more excited about creating the snow bear, the action's going to pick up. So there's going to be texture there. It'll be, the contrast of the beginning to the end. And so those are things you want to think about in your timing. And it just, and a lot of times timing comes down to, does it look right? If it feels good, then it is good. YouTube question: when you're animating, is storyboarding necessary, and how many frames do you need when it comes to storyboarding? Well, storyboarding is necessary if you're working in a studio environment. And it actually is necessary for doing what I'm doing here because I've just thumbnailed everything out. And that's basically like doing the little mini storyboards for the shot. The storyboards are necessary because you want to plan that out before you start animating. If you start animating without having it all planned, then you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. You're not going to animate it perfectly the first time. And if you do, then you're a god. But as far as the number of frames you need, that just depends on the length of the shot, the length of the piece that you're doing. it's not really a question. It's whatever is needed. Jane asks, how can I keep my characters looking consistently the same, looking like the consistently the same looking character? Well, you got to get to know your character. The more you draw your character, the better you're gonna be able to draw them consistently. And I draw my characters with simple shapes. So I think about them in simple. Even this character that looks a little bit complex, I think about him in a much more simplified way in my head, and I've got little what's the word? Little key points that in his anatomy and in the way that I draw him that help me keep him consistent. And I've got the proportions in my head and all of that. So, with characters like the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, that was a very complex character. We all had our own kind of approach to drawing him that to help us keep him consistent. But he was a very complex character. But even with all that complexity, there was a way of constructing him, and that's how we did it. And we each constructed him the same way, and we were able to keep our animation consistent.
And the person that was asking earlier about the differences between the video game and the animation and all that was actually mentioned it's towards like character and background / foreground design wise.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Nick says, can you briefly explain the difference between how storyboards are used in live action versus how they're used in animation reels? Yes, that's actually a great idea. Storyboards for animation, at least when we use them, they're used to basically put up the entire movie. We get a script written, and then we storyboard the entire script, even conversations between characters. We just storyboard everything. Whereas in live action, they tend to storyboard complex sequences, visually complex, visual effects sequences, complex camera shot sequences that require a lot of action. Those are the shots that they tend to storyboard. The cool thing about our process in animation that I think is superior to live action is that when we storyboard and the whole movie, which is relatively cheap to do when you're looking at the overall budget, when you storyboard the whole movie, that means you are basically doing a dress rehearsal of the entire thing. When you have a finished script and everyone has the same script, that's great. But you can have 50 people in a room and all read the same script and have 50 different ideas of what that movie is in their heads. And it's not until you start iterating in the medium, that's picture and sound. It's not until you start doing that everyone's going to be seeing the same thing. So you got to get that image up on the screen as fast as possible. And that's what storyboarding does. Once you have a whole movie storyboarded, then everyone is looking at the same thing. And you can have a script that you just think is the most perfect script, but once it's storyboarded and it plays out, all of a sudden you're going to find that this doesn't work, this falls flat, this works really great, but now it's changed this. You're going to find things in your visual storytelling that you didn't realize in your page, in your written storytelling. And so that's why it's so important to do that, I think, and why we do that in animation, because first of all, animation is expensive, but the other thing is once you get that up, it's like a dress rehearsal. You get to cut dialogue, sound, music, everything. Put it all together, and you can watch the entire movie before you've ever made the movie. All you've done is storyboarded it. And that's when you get a sense of this, is the movie good? And usually on that first pass, after the script has been written, the movie sucks. You watch it and you go, oh man, this isn't what I thought it was going to be at all. But the beauty of that is that you've discovered that it sucks before you've made the movie. So then you go in and you adjust it, you screen it again, you adjust it some more, screen it again. All the while, you're taking the parts that are now working with each progressive screening, and you're making those parts, and you're slowly putting the movie together in like a jigsaw puzzle. And by the end, you've got a finished film that you've been able to basically check along the way and watch as you're making it to make sure it's good. That's why most major animated films that are in wide release from Disney, Pixar, Warner Brothers, that sort of thing, that's why most of them, not all of them, but most of them are good to great because they go through that process. If you look at most live action films, and I'm talking there's thousands of live action films that are released each year, most are kind of crappy. And it's a small handful that are good to great because they don't do, most of them don't do the storyboard process. I'm a firm believer in the storyboard process, putting the whole thing up and watching it and making sure it works. So there's my long-winded answer for that. Eric asks, what was the tradition, before that, any tips on drawing house cats? Yes. Get a cat and draw it.
Simple. Plain and simple.
I don't know. I don't. When I get questions like that, I'm sorry. I don't mean to belittle you. When I get questions like that, I don't know how to answer them. Any tips on drawing house cats? Yeah, you have to look at house cats to draw them, and so once you start looking at them, you're going to be able to draw them better.
Nick, draw the thing.
Yeah, Nick, draw the house cat. And so yeah, look up. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm sorry. Eric asked, what was the traditional to digital transition like for you? Did any artists did any artists fight it? Well, the digital image making for me was really scary, but it was easy because I was using a Cintiq that really made it helpful. And I had a friend, my art director, who's a close friend of mine as well, was an expert in, or is an expert in Photoshop, and so he just kind of showed me a few things, and then I was able to run with it. And so it was just a learning curve. But as far as drawing and all that and painting, because of my background in drawing and painting and design, it was an easy transition. It was just learning the software, so that wasn't too bad. We do have a storyboard. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing, too. Nick's reminding me. For those of you that are interested in storyboarding, we have a storyboard course on Creature Art Teacher, our website, creatureartteacher.com. Storyboard course by Lyndon Ruddy. It's brilliant. It's an absolutely genius course talking about storyboarding. Matter of fact, Lyndon is coming in very soon, and we're going to be doing some work together. But check out the course. It's at creatureartteacher.com, and it's on storyboarding with Lyndon Ruddy, and it's pretty cool. So I've been talking so much, and I haven't been drawing, so I got to get back to this. Got to see where I'm at.
Sergey asks, where would I find a house with a cat?
Do you have anything for me, Dustin?
I just gave one to you.
Oh, I thought you were joking. Say that again.
Where would I find a house with a cat? Someone wrote.
All right, I guess I could add a little breakdown in here. I think I'll do that. I'm gonna add a little breakdown.
How do you stop yourself feeling discouraged when seeing other artists on when you see other people's work online?
I don't compare myself to other people. I compare myself to myself. So don't compare yourself to other people. That's where, if you're getting discouraged by how good other people are, there's an issue there. You should worry about yourself and be inspired by other people. I don't know why you would be discouraged by other people unless you have some kind of weird competitive thing in your blood. You should be inspired by people. I'm always inspired by people that are better than me. I don't get discouraged at all. It's like, wow, what is it that they're doing that is so cool? And I try to go in there and figure it out. And that gives me, someone's asking me what gives me, what gets me out of my funks or my creative, flatness or whatever. And it's when I see other people better, and I get really inspired by what they're doing. And don't ever get discouraged. That's just you, wanting to be better than other people, I guess, and discovering that you're not. None of us are better than everybody. There's always somebody out there better, and I hate using the word better because it's not about that. It's about just seeing the world differently. And so don't do that. Don't compare yourself to other people in that way. It's not healthy.
I'm doing an assignment about your work, and I would like to know when you think your work becomes recognized, and in what way do you think it becomes significant and influential in the animation world?
Wow. Well, I think it becomes significant and influential in the animation world when it gets put out there on a wide scale. That's one of the things that we were so thankful for when we were doing our stuff with Disney, is because our stuff was going out on a huge global platform. And so, these little stories that we were coming up with in our studios and that we're making were going out and touching so many people in so many areas of the globe. That's what gave us the ability to hit everything on, to affect the animation world in that way, because everything was, such wide release, in 43 different languages or whatever, and it was just, that was pretty cool. Did I answer everything in the question, or did I miss anything? I started rambling. I got a Twitch question. Hi, from Argentina. Aaron, any tips on putting together a pitch Bible? Yeah, for when you want to put together a pitch Bible, that's a good question, actually, by the way. You really need that. You want the people that you're pitching it to, you want them to understand your characters. So you want to have plenty of images of the characters and who they are. You want them to understand the world and the style, and then your story. So it's characters, world, style, and then the story. And try to have images that are going to support those things. And that's your pitch Bible. You want to know who your characters are. You want to know the world that they occupy. You want to know the style of the film, which is not I guess it's arguable whether or not that's important. That's more of an art direction Bible. But still, I still like to have the style in there, even for the pitch Bible, because it lets the people know that who you're pitching it to, kind of what it's going to look like. 8-bit bonfire. I like that. On YouTube asks, any tips for curbing my ambition? I have difficulty with simple daily practice because I get all these ideas and want to make them. But then I overwhelm myself by attempting pieces beyond my current skill level. So what's my advice on that? Discipline yourself. Don't. Just don't. Just don't.
Just don't. Come on, man.
Stop it.
Stop it. Get some help.
No, I mean, I know what you're talking about, because I used to do that as well. That kind of thing, it cures itself over time as you mature as an as an artist. It really does cure itself, and I think as a young artist, you get really excited about all kinds of different things, and then you just kind of settle down. You simmer down now. Just simmer down now.
Could you make a live focusing on appealing poses for animation, please?
Say that again?
In the future, could you make a live stream focusing on appealing poses for animation?
Well, there's no such thing as this set number of appealing poses for animation. That's a hard thing to do. But there's rules that I follow in order to create appealing poses. such as nice fluid lines of action, good clear silhouette, good clear expression, those types of things. Those all contribute to creating appealing poses. And so as long as you're hitting those different, and I can talk about those, but as long as you're hitting those, then you're on the right track. Nick says, in my opinion, there is something to be learned from every piece. Failing at a piece of art beyond your skill level can actually teach you quite a bit. Actually, that is a huge, wise piece of information that Nick has just said, and I totally agree with him. And I kind of should have taken that question a little bit further. Every time I failed at something, I get discouraged, absolutely. But then I'll go back and I'll either try it again, or I try to investigate why I failed at it. And a lot of times it's because I bit off more than I could chew. I did it too fast. I didn't take enough time to do this or that, and then you learn from it. I remember we did a version of Brother Bear one time where we tried a whole bunch of different things. We basically rewrote the whole thing and then storyboarded it, and it was really interesting. Our head of the studio, Tom Schumacher, I always got along really well with him, and he was very, very patient with us, very cool, and we did the screening, and he was great because we did it with the whole crew, and he waited for everyone to get up and walk out, and then which was about 120 people, 150 people. They all walked out, and then it was just down to the core, the editor, directors, few production people, story people. And he turned to us and he goes, "Well, at least now we know what we don't want to do." And so it was a really great positive way of looking at making mistakes and how you learn from your mistakes. So that was a good piece of information from Nick. A Twitch viewer say, "Congratulations, I just hit 1,000 subscribers." Hey, I got 1,000 subscribers on Twitch. Yes. YouTube question: when creating a movie, is there any step? What is this cat? Oh, it's the dog again. Oh, he's coming up to say hi. Hello. 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 When creating a movie, is there any step before writing the script? Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of stuff that we do before writing the script. There's tons of research. There's a lot of us just sitting and talking about, before we ever get to that point, with a movie like Brother Bear, when we made that, Chuck Williams, who was our producer, he and I really, in the beginning, started talking about, what are things that inspire us? What are stories from our lives? What kind of movie do we want to make? And one of the things, we really had strong male role models in our lives. And that was something we wanted to write about. But then we started talking about music. And there was one song called "The Cat's in the Cradle" by Harry Chapin. And it's kind of this tragic song about a father who doesn't spend enough time with his son. And then as his son grows older, when the father finally does want to spend time with his son doesn't have time for him. And it's this really tragic thing about regret, about not spending enough time. And we thought, man, that's a really great lesson. And so we started writing Brother Bear around that lesson, about that story. It was originally it was called Shadow Bear. And we wrote a treatment for it, and people liked it, but there's a few rules and a few things in there that we wanted to change, and the story kind of evolved, and over time it evolved into Brother Bear, and that's when we finally wrote the script. So a lot of the times the steps are letting that story percolate and develop and evolve before you ever start putting it into script form. And then once it gets to script, it's going to evolve even more. But hopefully it'll evolve a little bit less because you have that main story idea that's kind of solidified. Corey on Facebook says, "It's like an old Edison quote. I didn't fail. I just learned 1,500 ways how not to make a light bulb." That's exactly right. I know that quote very well. So this is little Max. He's keeping me from drawing. How are we doing on time? We got 12:30. So I got about 15 more minutes.
Yeah.
I'm going to, I like the action that's happening in here so far in this little bit. And then hopefully You guys are going to see it in a couple weeks, and I'm going to have a lot more animation done in here. But you can see, even with there's not much happening in here. He's just kind of sad and forlorn, but you can see his attitude start to change. You can see him start to think. And that's what I love about animation. When you can start creating a character that's thinking, when you can see the character thinking, I got to put this little guy down. When you can see them
Getting heavy.
Yeah, he's getting heavy. When you can see them thinking, then they're becoming alive, and that's really cool.
What?
And so that's what I'm trying to do here. I want you to think, see his thinking process, that he's discovering this little bit of snow. He's going from sad and bored and forlorn and lonely to looking down and hey, wait a minute. He pulls it back. He's starting to think. You can see his attitude starting to change. So that for me is fun. And it doesn't take big, wild, crazy animation to do that. Sometimes it's just taking your time and being tasteful with the stuff that you do, because this is going to get much more lively as we get going. So it's a lot of fun. YouTube question. Do I think there's still a good job market for animators who are more technically talented than creatively? In other words, good at the process, but not in the inspiration. Absolutely. I think, especially now, I think with there's a lot of that type of thing in visual effects and, during the production process and the pre-production process when you're creating, your assets and all that sort of thing. I think there's a lot of people that are technically really talented, that are great problem solvers. That's their niche. So yes, I do, absolutely.
How many animals do you have?
We've got a frog.
A frog.
We've got fish.
Fish.
We've got 2 dogs.
2 dogs.
And 2 cats.
2 cats.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wow. I 6 months ago I had no animals. 7 months ago I had no animals.
And then the first dog to come in was Achilles, which was Austin's dog.
Yes.
And then Venanta moved in with all of these other.
I know. Achilles heel.
Ew.
So I think I'm gonna put an in between in here. Around a heel.
Can you recommend a good book or website for animal anatomy?
A good book or website for animal anatomy. I don't have one off the top of my head. A great creature drawing book is anything by Tara Whitlatch. I've got a couple of her books here, but I don't know that I even have any books specifically on animal anatomy. I've always studied it from life, or I pull it off the internet.
Well, you do have a few animal anatomy courses on your own site.
I've got animal drawing courses on my website. Yeah. Oh, what am I doing?
What's
here?
your projected date for Snow Bear's release?
We're hoping that we'll have it done. Let me do this here. We're hoping by early 2020, and we've been saying this for I don't know, for 2 years now. Hoping that we'll have it done within the year, but we always get caught up in getting our courses done and travel. So we have to really discipline ourselves and cut back on our travel. So we'll probably be saying no a little bit more to some of the speaking engagements, just so we can get this production done. Once it's done, then we'll be back out there and working with people and having a great time. But I really want to I'd like to spend the next year, in a perfect world, I'd like to spend the next year in the studio making this.
I don't know why, but when I mentioned when Snow Bear's going to be released, I just had the thought of Gabriel Iglesias' joke in my head.
Which was?
Of like a local Hawaiian taking the bus to the luau. Like, when are we gonna get there? Oh, we'll get there Hawaiian time. What does that mean? We'll get there when we get there.
I know. That's exactly right. That's kind of like where Snow Bear is. Whoops.
Like,
That's where Snow Bear is right now.
like like
It'll get done when it gets done.
yeah.
But we don't. I mean, I wish I had the discipline to say no to some of this other stuff that we're doing. But some of the stuff we're doing is really great, and it's for a good cause, and I don't want to say no to it. And so we just do what we can, and we're getting it done at its own pace. And we're going to make some great headway. Matter of fact, this weekend we're going to be doing some heavy-duty story work on it this weekend, and which I'm really excited about. We're working all the way through till Monday, and we'll see what happens.
You've probably answered this several times before, but are you doing this on your own, or do you have other artists working with you?
I'm animating it all on my own, so that's one thing that's going to take a while. And but we've got Nick and Dustin that are going to be helping with it. From helping with paint. I'm doing the backgrounds as well. If we find down the road that we need to bring other artists in, then we might do it. We have other artists helping us with story. So we've already got that going, and it's just a matter of time. That's why I really want to animate. I've always wanted to animate my own short, and so that's one of the reasons why I want to do all the animation. But it's just going to take time. Once I have everything laid out, and we've got the story figured out, it's really I can just attack it. And once I get rolling, I can actually animate pretty quickly. It's just knowing what that story's going to be, and we haven't nailed everything yet. We haven't solved it all yet, so that's important.
Have you seen Ken Holgren's book on animal drawing? He was a Disney artist too.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't seen it, but oh yeah, I have seen it. Yes, and it's brilliant. Nick says he's going to be sneaking a shot in, and yes, I encourage that. Nick will be doing a shot in the film.
You mentioned on Tuesday you'll be attending the Lightbox Expo in Pasadena.
Yes.
Can you tell us anything about your role at the convention?
No, and not because I can't tell you. Well, I can't tell you because I don't know yet. So
he's playing the role of the mad scientist in the play.
Yes. I just don't know yet.
And earlier someone asked, do you prefer to drink tea or coffee?
Lately it's been tea. Since I went to Britain, about a month ago, I really got hooked on drinking tea.
You kind of have this deal where when you come back from a long trip,
I pick up stuff from
when you came back from Japan, you had sushi. When you came back from Britain, it's all about tea.
Yeah.
In fact, when we came back from Paris all those years ago, you made
crepes. I made lots of crepes.
For a month long.
I know. I try to pick up little habits there. YouTube comment, well, The Thief and the Cobbler took forever to complete and really never was complete, so yeah, project's dragged. Hopefully this will not be a Thief and the Cobbler issue. Thief and the Cobbler went on for like 25 years or something. Oh, yeah. Poor Richard Williams.
Are there any human characters in Snow Bear?
No. No human characters in Snow Bear. Matter of fact, no dialogue either. All music and pantomime. So this is, I'm going to call it now. So you got to see me break it down a little bit, and really I wanted to emphasize, how much subtlety you can get and get character across. Now, once again, this is just a small chunk of a much larger shot that this is going to be. This is going to be probably close to a minute and a half shot, and so it's going to be long, and there's going to be a lot of drawings. But I just wanted you guys to see, if you just take your time and you approach it very methodically, and don't don't overthink your animation. You just gotta, I wanted to think, clear silhouettes, lines of action, nice arcs, and fluidity in the movement. And once you get that, you can do very subtle, simple animation and keep it very appealing and lifelike. So that's that. We're going to be back again on Tuesday. And hopefully on Tuesday, I'm going to have my new giant 32-inch Cintiq set up, and we'll do a demo with it. And I'll probably still be working on the animation. And hopefully I'll have a good chunk taken care of, although we'll be talking about Snow Bear all weekend long, so I'll probably be all excited about working on Snow Bear. But that's going to be on Tuesday. And until then, I hope you guys have a great weekend. And get out there and put some beauty back in the world. Get out, do some animation, do some painting, do whatever it is. Be nice to somebody, because we need it now in the world. And I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Put your grocery cart away. And I'm going to let Dustin take it away.
See you guys. Cowboy Bebop.